What's up everybody, we're back with another raid guide, and today we're taking a look at Shriekwing on Mythic difficulty. I'll be going over most of the mechanics, how to deal with them, and our overall tactic for this fight. So for this encounter you want 2 tanks, 4 healers, and 14 DPS. No real need for anything special comp-wise. The big new mechanic here is the Blood Lantern, and the changes to Echoing Sonar and Screech. On Mythic you can't see the sonar discs, or whatever you want to call them, at all. So here's where the Blood Lantern comes into play. Players can interact with this lantern and pick it up. Any player within 4 yards of the lantern when it's on the ground, or 14 yards if held by a player, gets buffed/debuffed by Bloodlight. Deals ticking shadow damage, lasts for 12 seconds, and allows players to see the sonar discs again. And this stacks. However, if the player carrying the lantern gets hit by any mechanic, it will shatter and you wipe, due to the ravenous horrors that spawns. Now speaking of ravenous horrors, I'm streaming all of our progression on Twitch at Stankie Gaming. Other than that, it's not a whole lot different, and you kinda deal with the fight the same way as you would on Heroic. For this strat, we didn't use the Blood Lantern at all for phase 1. Simply pick it up, move it a bit away from raid. Just remember that you'll be picking it up once intermissions start. You want to tank Shriekwing next to one of the pillars during phase 1, we went with top left. Face Shriekwing towards the wall, melee be behind boss, range a bit behind melee, roughly where we have our green mark. This is both to bait the Echoing Screech as well as ensure range doesn't get hit by the swipe. Always run to the walls or far away with echolocation. And anytime boss casts ear-splitting shriek, hide behind the nearest pillar and make sure you're out of line of sight from boss. As soon as he casts Echoing Shriek, melee move to where tanks are, range move behind the pillar and stack up at its side so you can still hit the boss. Remember, we aren't using the lantern at all, so all the sonar discs will be invisible, but as long as melee is behind boss and range a bit behind that, all sonar discs will travel towards green mark while the raid is snug and safe beside the pillar. Now range and healers, stay beside the pillar and wait for the next ear-splitting shriek. As soon as that's done, go back to green mark, melee behind boss, then rinse repeat. When boss gets full energy, roughly 2 minutes into the fight, intermission will start, and here's where you actually want to use the Blood Lantern. There's no safe zones here from the discs really, so it's up to each player to make sure they do dodge the swirly discs. Anyways, for intermission, assign one player to be the lantern carrier. Remember, this player cannot get hit by anything or it's an instant wipe. So make sure to pick someone that's comfortable with mechanics, if you know what I mean. As soon as intermission starts, pick up lantern and run over to where the raid is stacked. You'll have a 14-yard red aura around you. This is what people needs to get hit by. Ideally, you want to just dip in so everyone in the raid gets 1 or 2 stacks, then move out and stay behind the raid but in the same line, if you will, and just move into the raid whenever their buff is about to fall off. Check where boss is moving and just move the whole raid to the opposite side of the room whenever Shriekwing starts patrolling around. And make sure everyone has the lantern buff as you're moving so they can make sure to dodge them sonar discs while doing it. Since you can't do any damage or anything during the intermission, just focus on not getting hit by discs. Aim to keep Blood Lantern stacks as low as possible, but if you do end up with like 9 stacks like we had, the healing requirement increases quite drastically, which is why you want to keep them low. Now as soon as intermission ends, drop the lantern a bit away, range and healer back to green mark, boss next to the pillar and melee behind it, and prepare to heal through any stacks the raid might have left from the Blood Lantern. After that, it's pretty much rinse repeat. Just keep going through phase 1 intermission until the boss is dead. If you're having issues with the blind strat for phase 1 where you don't use the lantern, it is perfectly fine for a healer or someone to pick it up and just run over the raid right before the echoing sonar and then drop it again, or if you're just very bored and want something extra to do during it. If you have any questions at all about this encounter, hit me up in the comments or become a patron. As a patron, you get access to the Stankie Discord where you can find raid week auras, healing notes, assignments, etc, etc. Now don't forget the usual stuff, like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. I'm also streaming all of our progression on Twitch, so make sure to check that out. It's Mondays and Tuesdays. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you next time.